Hello, everyone, and welcome to Earp Sister Feels. This is our episode number 38. My name is Kevin, and on this video, we're going to be discussing Season 4, Episode 11, Wynonna Earp, titled Better Dig 2. Let me quickly go around and introduce everyone who's here. We have Rita.
Hi.
Kylie.
Hello.
Terry Ann.
Hi.
Jill.
Hello.
Alyssa.
Hey.
And Jess.
Hi.
Full crew, and we knew we had to have full crew to go through this episode for sure. So it was interesting, a little peel back behind the scenes here. There was lots of discussion here in our little group before we started recording about how many times folks had watched this episode. And I must say, I am shocked. That's right, shocked at how many of these folks have rewatched it. So we're going to have to weave that into a conversation because I can't stop watching it. So
I think it was just so, there was a lot. There was a lot that happened, and I just didn't know how to restart that.
I can see that. I do know some folks who tell me they digest the shows, especially deep ones or rich ones like this, with fewer watches. But I can't do that, man. There is just too much for me to grasp it. Certainly for this one. Talk about definition of an edge of your seat.
Mm-hmm. So do we want to discuss about how many times each person has watched?
I don't want to call anybody out. I didn't intend to do that.
Rita! Oh my God.
I've rewatched it 4 times, but that's still not as many times as I usually rewatch it. I usually rewatch it 5 to 6 times.
I am afraid that Rita is Eve and Eve is Rita if you only watched it that many times. That is so uncharacteristic.
I know.
Suspicious.
I watched Abnormally Adam's reaction video to it. That was what I did to get back into the mindset. I normally have watched it 3 or 4 times by the time we hit this episode. I've only seen it twice, like the first initial watch and then one rewatch. Same.
I watched it once, but I did this morning or after everybody was like, we only watched it this many times. I did watch the 411 funniest YouTube compilation thing that they always have I always see of every episode where it's like the funniest parts of the episode. And so I saw the one for 411. So I technically watched it probably 1 and a quarter.
But are were there funny Earp Sister moments from this episode?
No, it's just funny overall episode stuff. Yeah,
Depends on your
Were there
perspective,
funny
doesn't
things?
it?
Yeah,
surprisingly funny lines. There were surprisingly some good funny lines.
Well, that I agree with. There
Mercedes in general was just a gold mine.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Anything. Well, you can't go through an entire Wynonna Earp episode without having some really fantastic humorous lines.
Mm-hmm.
But Earp Sister stuff, I'm going like,
I don't think so. Trust me.
Not a lot of funny stuff there.
A damn delight.
Says the person who watched it once.
Yeah.
It's so sad. And I think that there's the penultimate episode thing, and I'm just I can't. Maybe not rewatch it. I only rewatch it once though, normally though. So.
And I admit, part of me is I'm just an emotional mess, right?
Yeah.
I'm just an emotional mess, and I don't know I don't even know what to do with my emotions, and so no, I haven't rewatched it a lot because of that reason as well.
I'm just thankful that it didn't end on the cliffhanger that it could have at one point in the episode, where I literally would be off. Yeah, no.
I go back and forth. The part of me that loves angst, I wanted that cliffhanger, but at the same time, I'm happy that we didn't. So I go back and forth.
But that was one damn long commercial break on that particular thing. That could have been a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It cut into actual scenes for whatever I was watching. It would cut off before the scene would actually cut for a commercial.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Were you getting that, Terry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people were tweeting. I was like, when did they say that? Oh, they didn't say that. Okay.
Well, that's even worse if you got to do that.
Yeah.
So you missed the Rita is Eve reveal that happened. So Act 3.
How much time do we spend in our last episode? Sure that we were going to have Eve at some point in this
Right?
episode.
Yeah, I know.
That's why I
Nope.
didn't rewatch. I'm just so disappointed. Like, where is she? Where is she?
She's all
I was
Yeah,
gonna put in.
and- I have to admit, that's a lot of it. Like, you know, as a fandom, we've deep dived into so many things, and it looks right now that none of those big overarching questions are going to get answered.
No, but then I'm really worried that they are. And I can't like get re-excited about like the semi-resolution. Maybe that's why I didn't watch it either, because I can't be like, oh, that was a happy place to stop.
Yeah.
No, like I don't trust any of the answers they left at.
This happy ending is too happy right now.
Yep.
There's no
Yep.
happiness. There's
Like-
no.
Like Waverly yeeting the book back into the garden. I'm like, that's not satisfactory.
That's
I have so
happy.
many questions when it comes to the
It's
book.
probably fine.
And the fact
Maybe
that we don't know where Eve is, I'm like, I don't trust that.
maybe Eve just is on vacation somewhere.
Where's-
you know, she
where's
got
Rita
kicked out
from
of the
me?
garden.
Sure.
Yeah.
I bet her location is in the book. What if it's in the book?
That book was still
So the
blank.
book is a Horcrux.
Well, to us, but we didn't see that particular page that Dark Waverly /
The
Waverly
backside of that
transforming.
page was blank.
It was, but the page that she was looking at may not have been. Who knows? We didn't see
Oh.
that particular page.
And
I
this
wanna
is
know
why
what-
I'm like, yeah, I don't trust any of these happy endings. Like,
I think
And-
Dot can read it.
Ooh.
And it's like mystery ink. Only like the reader can read it on that specific page and that like specific line. Like the words appear and disappear as they read. Like
I didn't
over
see
it.
the
So-
bottle of lemon juice. She wasn't using lemon juice to write
Right.
over it. Or-
He needed
What-
luminol.
there you go.
And speaking of the book, did you guys notice that the 2 times Waverly used that like lightning power, it came from the book? Like when she
Did it?
de-read
It did.
Colt, turn them into magpies, she like waves her hand, and so it's like an intentional, but like the power comes from the book. But when she's with Nicole, it's almost as like it came from the book, but she didn't have control over it happening.
Does it come from the book or is it like channeled from her through the
Through
book?
the book. I don't know.
I mean, ultimately, it was the video, the visual effects were all the power was coming from the book.
And
No
we
one
don't
knows
know
if that
who
was
lightning since
Waverly
she had the
channeling
book.
herself through the book, or it was the book itself.
I think it's a channeling through.
Well, she didn't
That's
use.
this week's GIF.
She didn't need to use the book to blind Wynonna, though.
No.
No.
So it's not all coming.
That was a shock for me. I did not see that coming.
Yeah. And so like kind of like a correlation I made. So what Jolene repeatedly says to her last episode about like not doing enough to help Wynonna and like being lazy. Like I think we see that play out in Dark Waverly, like this version of Waverly wants to take that burden from Wynonna, and like even when we kind of see Waverly coming through, it's like our Waverly also accepts that this is what I'm going to do to take that away from Wynonna. And then, you know, because like what you just mentioned, Kevin, with her taking her sight, she's like, because it's her turn, Wynonna. So I thought that was really interesting.
Now, do you think that she really meant like her turn as in she was speaking in the third person about Waverly? Or do you think she says it's her turn about Cleo? Because right after that, we get a lot of Cleo scenes. Like, is it Cleo's turn to wrap up her story? Because they're both heirs, which is like my favorite thing about season 4 is the Clanton Earp thing.
Yeah.
Except one got to pass it along. The other one can't.
Is Wynonna still the heir anymore?
Yes.
That's still a thing, right?
Yes. She says at the very end of the episode, Waverly says, like she's like, Dark Angel me, well, she seems to be gone for now, thanks to my angel shield. And Wynonna's like, I helped a bit. And she's like, you're still the champion and the Earp and my favorite sister. Top two, top two.
Waverly says that, but is it true?
Mhm.
I mean,
she's
Th-
still
this-
the heir.
And I also, when I have questions like that, for me, I go back and say, this is an Emily Andrus written episode. Every word matters.
Mhm.
So, meaning that if I think if Waverly said it, then it is true.
But I agree with that, Kevin. Totally. Like, I truly mean, like, I truly believe every word that if it's an Emily Andrus written episode, every single word matters. Every single word, every single scene has some kind of importance. But yet, she also imbues it with, but the person that's saying it, can you believe them? Right. You know, like frequently she's written episodes where Bobo has said things, but then she goes, but can you trust Bobo? Right. You can trust Emily that every word matters, but can you trust the person that's saying those words? I even like when Waverly said, you're still the champion, you're still the heir, you're my favorite sister. And then when she said top two, I went, oh, Waverly, I don't believe for a second, not for a second, that you would put Willa on any level, even remotely equal to Wynonna.
Same.
Like that
Same.
fell completely flat to me. And I don't know why it was said. And that also intrigues me. I don't know why she would say top two, top two. I don't think Waverly would put Willa anywhere close to Wynonna.
Maybe for Wynonna's sake, because Wynonna had a deep connection with Willa. Just to give her some regard.
But then again, these words came out of Waverly's mouth. I believed the first, I believed all the things she said. And then she's like, oh, top two, top two. And I'm like, nope, I'm not believing you anymore. I don't even know why you're even saying top two, top two. Like, I don't get it.
What if she's Eve right now?
What if she
Because it took so long for like Nicole to like say the thing about the wedding, and like you would have thought Waverly would be like, yes, let's get married before all of that. But I don't know. And it was also one of two Willa mentions in this episode, the second coming from Wynonna, when she says, looks like it's just you and me, let's do it differently this time, when she's talking to Peacemaker.
But do me a favor. Tell me more about why you think that's a Willa reference.
Because she had to use her gun to shoot her. And to me, it was saying, like, let's do it differently, as in, I don't want to kill this sister with this gun. So let's do it differently than the last time I had to shoot a sister.
Interesting, because you know how I took that, and this is why I love having these conversations, because when I first saw you mention that in our chat, I went back and I'm like, okay, let me think of the frame of that. I took that when she did that. That was just before Billy said that Wynonna had to go back to the ranch.
Yeah,
so she's going back to the spot that she shot Holt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this time I'm going back and I'm not going to shoot someone in the back. I'm going to do it right.
That's how I thought about it too. Yeah.
But that's what I love
It
is
could be
the different layers. Yes, that's what I love. Because
Or even
naturally,
shoot a human too,
Yes,
not just in the back, just kill another human being.
yes.
I love that both of those references are in regard to the oldest cursed sibling of both cursed families. Well, because she did kill the supposed to be heirs of both families. So,
but I loved, speaking of that, I loved how the comparison of like Cleo being able to actually like get rid of it, like to pass it on to someone else, and like how the different curses worked in respect to the families, because you have two things that are sort of parallel to each other, these two family curses, but just the differences of how, like, I don't know, just I like the idea of exploring the Clantons as much as we did,
Mhm.
and knowing the Earps already, and like how you can kind of make comparisons to both, like you said, with the youngest, the middle, and the oldest, but then how Cleo is able to change it, whereas Wynonna really can't give it up, right? Like until can she pass it down to Waverly, or does she have to be dead? Do we know?
It would never go to
I
Waverly.
would think she would have to be dead, and it would be her like her child, right? It wouldn't be
Waverly's
Waverly.
also not fully human.
Yeah, so it'd have to
right?
be Alice.
Mm-hmm.
But on
And
that
like-
same note, what do you folks think of the idea that, as we saw the comparison of the two curses, with what Wynonna saw Cleo be able to do you think maybe there's a chance she now looks at the idea of a way to pass it to an enemy or to someone else?
Kevin.
Well, it's not the first time
I
something's
don't-
been passed off in this season either. Because
Mm-mm.
Dimitri handed off his thing, and
Mhm.
Julian handed off his thing, kind of. Well, I guess that was a different season, but referenced back a bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, to that point, Kevin, one of the things that disturbed me most in terms of the Earp sisters in this episode was it felt like Wynonna chose Doc over Waverly. Like she kind of acquiesced and said, the Dark Angel is going to take Waverly. Before you take Waverly from me, can you at least save Doc?
Yeah.
Like
in my notes
she's
I have.
she like in my mind it was like, why the hell aren't you fighting to save Waverly? Why are you simply begging Waverly to save Doc?
But does she not feel like, as we've talked about this whole season, that like she's giving that to Nicole? Like that responsibility has now been transferred to Nicole in some ways. Like, so she expects that like she can save Doc, but knowing that Nicole is likely going to save Waverly, do you think that plays into that?
Well, or it plays into that, or to Kevin's question of, hey, Cleo just tried to pass, the airness or whatever it is, pass that on. Maybe Wynonna had met that breaking point and just went, I'm done.
But didn't Cleo think it would have gone to Wynonna?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like she thought it was going to go to Wynonna, but it went to Doc. Yeah.
And I don't think
Like
in that
I
don't think in that moment Wynonna thought she was passing it on to anybody. I sort of felt like she was sort of giving up, right? And it, for me, at least, that moment was she was giving up. She was like, I'm losing my sister. This is all done. At the very least, can I have Doc?
Right.
Well,
and even
but if you also are like, I think that she also has to recognize the power that Waverly has
Mhm.
and the lack of like, maybe she didn't trust that whatever was happening with Waverly was stable, because like how terrible would it be to fight that power and people die and then Waverly have to deal with that?
Well, the
Like,
last
is
time.
there, pardon?
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. No, the last time that there was something in control of Waverly, it didn't go well when Wynonna tried to help,
Right.
or whatever you want to call it.
Or to push too hard. Or if we bring
Yeah.
back Willa, like she and Willa stood at the ultimatum and Willa pulled the trigger. Like Willa pulled the trigger of Peacemaker did not fire. So if she goes up against her sister to pull the ultimatum, that was the point of no return. So then if she pushes too hard, does she lose Waverly? Does like letting Waverly, I apologize for the terrible wording, does letting Waverly spread her wings, allow her to still have some of her like humanity or the ability to come back?
I like that because I think
yeah.
I didn't necessarily see it as Wynonna letting go. Oh, sorry, or of Wynonna giving up, but I saw it more of her letting Waverly go in just all of the ways, where she's letting her go, actual Waverly, not even just Dark Waverly, but letting her sister go to the woman she loves, into this new life, new relationship dynamic, and like you said, Rita, like letting her sister just spread her wings, for lack of better words, and just embark on this new journey, even though she doesn't like it, doesn't understand it. But it's like, if she pushes too hard, is that going to result in actually physically, I mean, I guess it is kind of physical, because if Waverly leaving that dimension, that realm, whatever, but she's still alive in some sense, as opposed to, I'm going to push too hard and fight, and then I'm going to end up maybe killing her. And I thought that was, it was so interesting to see from the beginning of the episode, where she was like fighting so hard to keep her, and like, oh, don't go, Waverly, don't go. And then towards the end, it's like, she like, I have to do this. I'm doing things differently this time, and I'm going to let her go.
Yeah. See, and I'm with Jill on that. And for me, it started when she was in the woods with Billy, and like the dilemma of, do I go save Waverly? Do I go save Rachel? And like the Wynonna in like 310 would have been like Waverly. And like even in like 401, when she goes to the garden, now hearing all of you guys talk, and like the growth that, or lack of growth, that Wynonna has gone through, realizing that Nicole is the one to save her. It's just like, I would have thought Wynonna would have done anything she could
No.
to save her, but at the same time, what does that mean? What does saving her mean? I'm working it through my head, you guys could see, because I'm like, save her as in like keep her here, but like, what if saving her is to let her go like she does? And so I'm like,
Yeah,
And
and
I-
actually, if you go back to 410, and you know, she lectured all of them and said Waverly is priority one.
yeah.
Come 411, Waverly wasn't priority one anymore. She wouldn't save
Well,
Rachel.
But
And
But
I know
it
Billy.
can still be priority one and not be on the front burner.
Yes, because Billy brought it up that, like, you know, Waverly has
would
powers.
want-
She's this other
Yeah, Rachel's
being
alone.
now.
Mhm.
And all the other members of their team are not. So it's like, Wynonna doesn't have to live for just Waverly. She doesn't have to save just Waverly. That, like, she can still have purpose or whatever in terms of helping other people and being the savior for other people. It doesn't have to be just Waverly, because Waverly has to do her own thing. She can kind of take care of herself. So.
And of course, Billy being like the Clanton foil to Waverly. Of course, Wynonna listens to him.
I just love that he was back.
Pardon?
I just love that they brought him back.
I
I
know.
was so happy.
Well, which Cleo did save Billy, which is parallel to Wynonna walking
Yes.
away from saving Waverly, because Waverly actually can save herself at this point.
I would just like to put out one thought on that topic, though. And we saw this very much in the Nicole and Doc situation, when Nicole was, quote, gave up Doc to save Waverly. And he talked about how, you know, it was what she had to do, and he understood the whys, and that the collective group, could always figure it out. I saw part of Wynonna's choice there as Doc is literally dying. While I don't want to let my sister go, we got into the garden before, and I got her off the throne before. That's more triage. He's going to be dead.
Yeah.
Her, I can maybe find a way with the team to get back. Just triage in the moment to me more.
And Rachel too.
Yes, because that was her focus in that whole exchange with Evil Doc.
Quick question, because this just, I don't think it's true, but I was just thinking, when you brought up Nicole giving up Doc, was that deal basically going to end in the same result, we think, of Doc in this episode of getting the Clanton like curse? Or do you think that deal didn't include that? Like, because I guess it was Ma'am that did the deal, and she probably wouldn't want to give up the curse, right?
She did say that she would make him or them destroy each other earlier on in the season. So maybe she had this planned all along.
I was just curious. I didn't even think about that until Kevin just brought up the Nicole Doc thing.
Well, so Cleo like crashes the jar full of ma'am, right? I mean, for lack of a better, I am so eloquent, you guys. Listen, uh, am I a writer? No. But she does, and she talks about like she looks at the jar and she's like, "This is the representation of this person to her." How I don't know if anyone else had the thought that ma'am isn't in that jar. Ma'am is actually in Doc on some level because so all of the Reapers are still in like their cage thing, and Billy is the heir at some point, and Cleo's the heir at some point, or they've got the they've got the power of the curse at whatever point in the episode. But Doc, when he's talking, is actually like not Doc. When he's speaking to Wynonna, he's speaking and he talks about Doc Holliday. Pond is agreeing with me. Can you hear? I don't know. I don't think Ma'am was in that jar. Personally.
Well, didn't they eat her? Didn't the
Her
body, sure.
body,
body
or
or
not her spirit
yeah.
or whatever.
I mean,
Because we know, she could put
And-
Nicole into a frog.
Doc knew in advance to load the gun the way he did, knowing that he wouldn't have control over it.
And he even makes a comment. I know this is Earp Sisters, but he makes a comment at the very beginning when they're still in the jail cell that he had a vision. And I was like, well, so it started then, but if you go back right before he goes back in to like change his gun out, the Clanton air music or the Clanton music is being played. It's like that theme. And that's how I knew that like simultaneously Cleo was doing her thing and Doc was realizing it or somehow. But
I wish I was so much more musical because people keep talking about like, oh, I heard the Bobo theme or I heard the Latin theme, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I missed that completely.
I didn't hear any of that.
I love
It's like ominous music, yes.
Well, on the music thing too, there's both Cleo and Wynonna use song lyrics in this episode where Cleo talks about the Empire of Dirt, which is a 9 Inch Nails / Johnny Cash song from Hurt, and then Wynonna says something about never being able to leave, which I'm sure says it happens a lot, but like Johnny Cash and the Eagles and Hotel California, like so many songs about like totally different feels to listen to those songs, but they both have the same message of like, this sucks. Like they both won out in different ways, you know?
Certainly Cleo wants out. Cleo seems content on putting it on her younger sibling. Whereas Wynonna seems not willing to put it on her younger sibling. Like if we really look at the, the art, like I still think like it was still pretty chilling that she was like, okay, you dark angel, whatever you are, you're going to take my sister away from me. Please at least save Doc in the process. But I don't ever envision that Cleo would just like, peace out, I've passed on my curse. And whoever gets it, screw them. Even if it's Billy, who presumably is now the next heir.
But he let the souls go or whatever. Right? So is it over? Is their curse over? Didn't he like let them all?
Waverly did.
I think that was Waverly.
Turned them all into birds.
Well, he was trying to take it back at the time that she released the actual physical Reapers, if you will. So I think it was a combination of the two. But I don't know, and I want to ask this first before I bring this up. We can hold it. Is the official, one sentence description for the season finale has been posted? Is that considered spoilery to you folks?
I'm fine with it, but
I'm fine with the one. I've seen the trailer.
Yeah, that's the one
If the trailer is massively different, then
well, because in this, well, no, it's related to our conversation. But if folks don't like to look at those, I don't want to go there.
So I've watched the trailer. If it's one sentence, I'm okay with it.
I'm good.
I'm
Yeah.
good.
Go for it.
Jess?
I know what it says, so I'm good. Yep.
Okay, all right. I just making sure. This idea, because excuse me, this idea of Ma'am having her whatever essence, soul bounced into Doc. The description says, part of the description, I won't give it all away again, says that a new witch makes herself known in purgatory. Is it possible that Ma'am might move into another physical body and still be the nemesis?
Oh my God, is she Eve?
I was just gonna say,
I was
wait,
gonna
is the
say
witch
Eve.
Eve?
Like, we're still waiting for Eve.
Is the witch Eve?
Well, that's why I'm wondering if that is all related.
Oh boy.
Because
Rita.
Well,
I'm
because
so
we don't
stoked
we've
over
been
here
talking
right
about how you
now.
can't get rid of a curse, and Cleo made it look so easy to. Well, maybe she didn't really.
Cleo
Mm.
fucked it up.
Interesting.
but I wouldn't describe either Eve or Ma'am as a new witch.
I know that's why maybe not, but I just thought it was too close to what we're talking about to not at least maybe
Hmm.
speculate.
I'm into
Because
it.
because Ma'am was considered the swamp witch, right?
I
Mhm.
love that
Yeah.
name. I want to be when I grow up, I
Love it.
want to be a swamp witch.
Yeah, Iron Witch is nowhere near as much fun as a Swamp Witch.
No.
Right.
Now, I haven't completely watched the trailer, but we've never met Nicole's mom, right?
No.
Correct.
Jill.
But I'm just saying it's a wedding. I'm just saying it's a wedding. No, I'm just saying it's
Mom
a
is a-
wedding.
I
Shows
think we have
up.
a better chance of seeing Eve than we have
No,
of
I
seeing
know, I know.
Nicole's mom.
I was just trying to think of like what witch would come out of nowhere and have a connection.
Willa.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
what I-
always gonna
Oh,
throw in
random
Willa
stuff
card,
in.
okay?
I like to
regionally,
be the person that throws the most random thing out there because when it happens, you're all gonna be like, "Remember when?"
We also have Mama Earp and Gus Gibson. They might have another sister.
True.
I'm here for
Ooh,
that.
Out
too.
of
ooh.
town.
Get in
Yeah.
town right
Well,
now,
mic drop.
other
Mel-
Gibson.
And,
Right? Like-
and Mel tweeted that there's a guest star that's never been on the show before that is in this episode.
It's gotta be Emily.
Mhm.
No.
Emily has to be the guest star. Come on,
That would be awesome.
I would love
has
it.
to be.
But-
But which? Okay. No.
Okay,
Okay, I wasn't trying to go too deep down that rabbit
No,
hole.
I know, I know.
Tied into Ma'am. I'm
They've-
just throwing it out there.
so they've
And-
had an Iron Witch. They've had a Stone Witch. They've had a salty whatever scenario.
Swamp
so
Witch.
like
We have the Stone Witch and Iron Witch.
they haven't done ice
Swamp
yet,
Witch.
and they
What is
haven't
the
done
blacksmith? So
iron.
the Stone Witch was
Mhm.
Cleo. No, I mean,
They haven't done
Constance.
snow or ice yet. That's
Constance.
basically all that's missing.
and then we had the Iron Witch, which was the blacksmith, right? And then her sister, what was she? That, or was she the Iron Witch and the blacksmith was something else? I think we've had 4 witches.
I don't remember the fourth one, but
And if
that's
you
what I'm
consider
saying.
But we had, I
name
mean, we had we had Constance Clutie, we had the blacksmith and her sister, and now we've had Man Clanton.
So what would make sense to me is that Eve has been in a snowy, icy thingy, and we all know that
Ooh.
Emily enjoys Frozen references. So I'm just calling Ice Witch now. Now.
But it's summer in purgatory.
Yours
Ice-
makes more sense than mine.
Have you read the Chronicles of Narnia? Ice can show up anywhere it wants to, whenever it wants to.
You know, and this is actually not that I'm contemplating going back to school, but part of me is like, now I want to go back and look at every single like little blurb that sci-fi has ever put out about the show. Like, you know, here is the 4-sentence explanation of what this show is about, and figuring out like how accurate each one of those descriptions actually were. And going like, yeah, you lied to us, and nobody ever paid attention to the fact that after it
Kevin-
aired, you went, yeah, that was totally not true.
Sly-fi.
Kevin, how can you think of dropping that bomb and not expecting us to go on a separate tangent for like?
No,
4
I didn't say we
hours?
shouldn't go on it. I'm just saying it's like any of these other rabbit holes. We could turn that into an hour
Yeah.
discussion.
Mhm.
But it was too perfect with what, came out. Not to mention that it's in that description.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, just given where we are, like in terms of the series, and that it's sort of been indicated that there aren't going to be a huge number of major cliffhangers. Like, I kind of go, do we really think they're going to introduce like a brand new evil character in the
Sure.
final
Yeah.
episode when we have Mam Clanton and Eve hanging out there already? Like, what's the point of introducing another character?
Well, I mean,
Setting up season 5.
Season
season
5.
5. Or
But
comic
Eve
book
isn't enough of a lure for season 5,
Oh my God, she's
I
not
don't think-
the lure for me.
right? I mean, she's a massive lure for me.
Yeah, but here's my thing. I'm wondering, she is such a great ace in the hole, because everybody has been talking about her since the beginning of the season, and we still have nothing else yet. It is
I
such a
know.
great
It's
juicy
so
thing that
exciting.
drives us crazy. I can just, I don't know, maybe it's me. I can just see another
Yeah.
witch or someone causing a problem at the wedding or something that is not like cataclysmically bad, but just enough to say, oh, we just barely got by this one here in the finale. And that would be a fun thing to bring in, with Eve more likely to be a big bad for season 5. You know what I mean? Kind of like, I don't want to say this because it's an Emily thing, but it's almost like it's a second tier villain, just to give them a little bit of a problem at the wedding,
Well, there's going to be a problem at that wedding.
Yeah.
We've
can
all been
tell
to a
that from-
wedding.
You can tell that just from the 20-second teaser
Yeah.
trailer.
Haven't seen it, but I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's right. Yep. So I don't know, but yeah,
But
I can
think
see
the
them.
Gibson route is a good route.
Yeah, I hadn't
Yeah,
not even gone there. Not even gone there.
well, like thematically, with all of like the family mirroring, if Mam is the head of the Clanton house and a witch, then is there a equal version
Of the
of
Demon
that?
Rodeo house.
Yeah, in the Demon Rodeo house.
Oh, I wish there was a Demon Rodeo episode. Dying for that
would be
to
great.
happen.
5 season 5. Yeah, I need, and this is going to jump around again, as I like to do, obviously, as we all know. I need Alice to be at the wedding. I know Jill
That's-
loves that. Loves my crazy thought process.
There's some things that are coming out of the field. I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that.
I need it. I need it so bad.
It would be really great.
Right?
I mean, we speculated that on our podcast, that idea of having the wedding start, having the camera pan the crowd, and there's Doc next to Wynonna, next to Alice, and we'd all be in a puddle.
I would
But-
die.
But knowing that this is a purgatory-based wedding, so there's no way it's going well. I just don't see them putting a child at risk in the
No,
middle.
I know. I
You know,
just wanted it.
That's
so
just me,
bad.
though. That is just my.
Unless it's some kind of time travel type thing and she's way older.
Oh my god! Don't even joke.
I was gonna be like, what if the
Don't
witch is?
even
What if the
joke.
witch is Alice?
Yeah, right.
What if the
Ah!
witch is Alice?
All right,
so
now
is
we are
Eve?
officially spiraling. We're gonna go there.
I can't help it. I need more soft Wynonna. Soft Wynonna at the end of this episode was so good.
I know it.
Oh, it made me nervous.
It made me, yeah, because when she's happy, things go down. But I wanted it.
Yeah, and we haven't even gone there yet. That may be balanced against the absolutely broken, talking through her tears on her
Oh.
knees with Doc and Dark Waverly. Come on.
But like
Come on.
such a like the being on her knees and like the I don't know, it just that whole visual was just like I bawled. Like I couldn't see the screen. I was like heaving because I was like, Jess was right. Oh my god, he's gonna die.
And I did okay when she was doing that in terms of not losing it until she reached out with the book
Yeah.
and would not let Dark Waverly take it. It was over. As soon as that, over.
Was there a baby girl this episode? I don't remember
No,
hearing one.
not
No.
one.
Okay.
My 7
the-
rewatches confirmed not one.
Okay. Glad I got that
Yeah.
right with my 2.
The line that got me was when she was like,
Oh,
"Can you hear me?"
oh my God. It's back. You're
back.
back.
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
The line that got me was when she's like, "I lost everything. If you're taking her away from me too, at least let my sister save the man we both love, please, before you go away forever." I was like, that's what I would bawled every time.
For me, I agree with Kevin. The visual of Wynonna dropping to her knees in front of Waverly, in front of Dark Waverly. I'm not a particularly religious person. I don't spontaneously drop to my knees for a lot of things, I'm not a religious person, and I'm not calling out anybody, in the British Empire or people that bow or take a knee to royalty. I'm just not somebody who ever drops to my knees for anything. And there's been only 1 or 2 times in my life where I felt the need to drop to my knees because I felt that in awe. And when Wynonna dropped to her knees, like this really powerful older sister, Earp Air, dropped to her knees and was begging.
Yeah.
This entity that she knew as her sister. That's when I was like, I can't, I don't even know what emotions I'm feeling right now, but that was so powerful to drop to your knees, and just put yourself in somebody, like it's not that you're giving up, but you're just putting yourself in their hands, and like, I know I can't compete with you. I know I can't. All I can do is beg you. And that's the first time we've ever seen Wynonna supplicate herself, I think, to anybody. And she was supplicating herself to her sister, her younger sister.
And you brought it up earlier, I think, Joe. Even with all this tension, there was still several times where we got great Wynonna quips. She uses humor a couple of times on Evil Doc and a couple other times here. But at that moment, she has nothing left. It is just a physical and emotional breakdown. And you're right. I don't think we've ever seen it ever in the previous 41 episodes or whatever it's been.
We have never seen Wynonna drop to her knees to anybody for anything, to beg. That's just not something that's ever been done.
Didn't she do that to Volshar?
Good.
Yeah, I was like,
because I think that's like the only other time when it's like, I have nothing left, like all the cards are on the table. There's nothing left for me to do, and this is like the last thing is just to get on my knees and beg. So I think she did like don't want her, because she said, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to beg? So I think it's only been like those 2 times, like those moments of absolute desperation.
But even that to me was a calculated, he always thinks he's so powerful, so I'm going to kind of play his game. I just think emotionally that she wasn't anywhere near the same spot, but you're right, Terry.
Yeah.
We're in this space with Dark Waverly in that moment. And she says at some point that she is the scion of Julian. Scion is another word for heir also. And Wynonna has like that connection with Julian too. It's so interesting to think about how that dynamic is playing out even within that character of Waverly too, whichever Waverly it is. Because how is she seeing Wynonna? Is it as that inhuman thing, or is it as Waverly, or is it as Charlie/Julian knew Wynonna? Like, there's 3 heirs in this episode. Also.
Now, one spot we haven't gone to at all, though, and that brings it up to me, and at least for me to jump off of, is what was going on with Waverly / Dark Waverly? You know, she's referring to Waverly in the third person, herself in the third person. And a couple of times she seems to break down as if she's no longer in control. I mean, who is that? I mean, what do we see happening? Is this the dark completely taking over and it's our little spunky Waverly breaking through? Or is it the dark kind of not realizing that it doesn't have to be cold and calculated by the book? They can make these exceptions, like for Doc and then for Nicole. In other words, I was, even on all those rewatches, I'm still not sure what was going on at that point. How do you folks kind of see that? I'd be curious to hear some thoughts.
I think of it with Julian. So like Julian, when he realized he was the angel, he was very cold, and like it's like his humanity was not even there. And it was the love that he had for Waverly that kind of made him more human. And so when it comes to like Dark Angel Waverly doing these things to save Doc, to you know, then giving Nicole the shield, it was her love of these people that kind of made her realize that what her mission as this Angel Waverly is, like she can use these people to help her, or like her love is like making her more human.
I always like the idea of like the angels using them as a vessel, like not necessarily that like Waverly's not in there or in control at all, but like the way that she talked in third person, like the way that like it was presented of very cold and stuff. I always like the idea of like it being more of the angel has like fallen into a body that is able to handle it in some ways, and just yeah, I don't know, that's like kind of always I've had a bit of that thought process of like, what if it isn't really Dark Waverly but an angel having fallen into Waverly's body? And so those moments that you see her peek through, not so much like the goo kind of, you know, how the goo sort of took over, but like you just see these moments kind of come through of her in that she's a chosen vessel.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that she's not an angel, because I don't know much about lore of angels and demons and stuff like that, but like there could be it could be kind of like the angel has a specific vessel and you're almost together in one. I don't know. I lost the train of thought halfway through that comment.
Me all the time.
I think I found really fascinating is it wasn't just Waverly. Kevin, I completely agree. I was sort of confused as to what is Dark Angel Waverly. Like when she first sprouted, Jolene said, "You're going to destroy the world," and she said, "Yes, I am, and you're not going to be here to see it." She was cold and she was intent, we thought, on destroying the world, and that wasn't what we saw in the second episode. She was more indifferent. She was like, "Yeah, you humans, I don't know what your deal is. You're like, so dramatic. Like you're so dramatic." And I can't, like, in many ways it was like, I can't concern myself with any one individual human. I have to concern myself with all of humanity. And so I have to go take this throne to at least save you pitiful little race. That's my lot in life. But what I found really fascinating was it wasn't just Waverly, but it was Doc also, when they were taken over by something bigger, when Waverly was taken over by the Dark Angel, when Doc was taken over by the Clanton heir, they still at their core had a bit of themselves that couldn't overcome who they were at their very core. Though Doc did shoot his gun and was about to shoot Wynonna in the back, ultimately Wynonna or Waverly was like, "Yeah, I've broken a couple rules. Why not break one more?" And also, Nicole was there, who who was also egging Waverly on to say, go ahead and break rules. Doesn't it feel good? Which is completely out of character for Nicole.
Well, it was to save her Waverly and keep her there with her.
Right, but like all of these people were in many ways, Doc hated the Earps, Waverly hated her family, Nicole was all about breaking rules. Those are three things that you would go, those are completely out of character for these three characters. And so I found it interesting that all of them were both at the same time behaving in a way that wasn't typical of them, but was also maybe typical of them. But all of them were kind of doing things that I wouldn't have expected them to do.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that it was out of character. It's more to say, like, if one of them were out of character, that would be one thing, but all three of them were out of whack. And so you have to go,
But I think it was also in the way that, because of the circumstances, they all realized that in order to save all of them, they had to do something different than what they normally do. They couldn't just be there. I mean, and it was brilliantly written, that basically every single character in this episode got to have their hero moment. Not saving the whole group, saving an individual.
Yeah.
The pieces. So that's kind of along those lines, Jill, where my same thought is everyone got got a one-on-one with someone that eventually was saving all of them. And that idea is, as Emily, it's about choice in life. Your past does not define you. So even though Nicole was out of character, whoever, it's showing us that, okay, sometimes you have to find a way that isn't your way. This is what the brilliant side of it, really.
I mean, yeah, look at like at the beginning there with Doc, like he would never want to turn someone. I imagine that's probably not something he ever would have wanted to do, but in order to move and like to save Mercedes, he did it. And then like you said, there's like just each one of them has their moments.
It's and this is where it really hit me too, is this idea again, that the show is named Wynonna Earp, but as we've been talking about for so long, it is more about them all doing their part, and all of us, through them as characters, we get to see as individuals. Yeah, I can get a hero moment. There will be a chance when I'll get a chance to do something, and maybe in that microcosm, I mean, with Jeremy offering himself up to Doc. I mean, if Doc had gone total dark, then he's not around later on to be able to be there for Wynonna to lead to what happened with Dark Waverly, to give her a doubt when she asked her to help him. Dark Waverly very much was like, oh yeah, the champion. Oh, okay. What I'm saying? It broke down some of those barriers so that she was more open when Nicole was the one. I'm just, see, that's what I love. I just kept seeing the layers of it all coming together.
Yeah, you couldn't take any one character out of it and have the story continue in its way. Every single character was required to come to the end. Yeah.
And in a brilliant way. And it's not like we see, not that they're bad in it, but many other shows, there's some big group effort thing that has to happen. They teach you that value of everybody working together, but you see them all actually physically together or physically doing the same thing. This time it wasn't. It was all separate scenes. But all of it was a part of it.
It even came down to Nedley, like call back to Nedley helping Billy. Like,
yes.
Yeah, it's incredible the way that it comes all like intertwined like that. And you almost feel like, it's funny, you almost feel like this episode you watched that like there was a group moment where they all were working together, but there wasn't. But just the way that it's written and shot and how many different scenes are all intertwined at the same time, it does feel like they're all there together working together.
It just, I can't get past that sometimes, thinking about the whole.
To answer your question, Kevin, before, I was thinking about it.
You've been writing in that notebook a lot.
I did. I had to really think about it.
Okay.
but it fits along with everything that we've been talking about. But you asked, like, who is this Waverly that we see? And I think that a lot of the big themes for Doc and Wynonna this season is you can be both. You can be both, the fuck up and the hero. And those two are one and the same, which is eventually what gives them like peace at the end of the episode, is them both understanding that they can both be both. both. But neither of them, in talking to Waverly, they don't really address her as Waverly. Like, Wynonna sort of references she kind of says like the angel is taking her sister away and asks for Waverly back to heal Doc. Like, so they both kind of like believe in like the dichotomy between two people. And in response, Waverly, or the angel or whatever, says, your sister loved you very much. But I think what we see on the stairs with her and Nicole is because Nicole sees like a person as the whole, and she addresses Waverly as you, like, you are going to be my wife, not like Waverly inside Angel, but not you, Angel, like the whole of the person as a thing. So I think what we're seeing is Waverly, like we are just seeing pure 100% Waverly, and not like a diluted version of either side. Like, we haven't lost her. She's not possessed. She's not Miction Waverly. She's not Gooverly. But because she still is in there, and has control of her powers. Like, she was able to heal Doc. She was able to set Holt free. And she was able to, grant Nicole the ability to essentially keep Waverly out of the garden. But I think what we're getting is like whole picture Waverly finally.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, because
like
all 4 seasons are who is Waverly. First, it's not an Earp. Second is
He's an
not
Earp.
a
You take
demon.
that back right now. That ever Earped.
She is
her
the-
book. It's not on the book, Jill.
She is.
He is the Earpiest Earp that ever Earped.
But if we're looking at second to last episodes of each season, not an Earp, not a demon, and a half angel, and now we get your Waverly. Like, this is just, it is Waverly. It's not like Dark Angel Waverly or whatever. I think it's just Waverly.
And then we have to accept that Waverly is Dark Angel Waverly.
Yes, I agree. I think that that's accurate.
I would as well. Like, it's not saying that Dark Angel Waverly isn't Waverly, because Waverly's it's still her. No, if we're gonna say that she's still there, she's still able to heal Doc, she's still able to do these things. You're also like, she's also able to blind Wynonna and kill Jolene without a second thought, and kill other creatures and just not care if other people are dying. Like, we also have to accept that's Waverly.
Yeah,
Technically, she also killed a stripper.
she did.
And no one ever like thought twice about that.
No.
When she scissored him
Yeah.
in season 1?
Yeah.
That was the stripper. Like, I would have killed that stripper.
I'm just saying, technically,
Right.
she has killed that as well.
That was a stripper that was going to kill her. Like, I that was self-defense. I'm not gonna.
Still a death.
So do you think it's something that now Waverly we see at the end of this episode, like she's able to control? Like,
Well, I mean, I think that she's.
Not yet.
No.
yeah.
I don't think that she's there, but I think she's learning. It's not. It's not like drastically unstable. A little out of control, but she's not like,
Well, to your point, Rita, Nicole addresses her as, this is who you are. At the very end, Waverly still referred to that person as in the third person.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Waverly
now.
still
Like the Waverly
assumed
is
that was a
Waverly
separate
tactic.
entity.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, like she's
Yeah.
over there. I'm Waverly. That dark thing is over there. So Waverly hasn't accepted that that's who she
No.
is yet.
No.
Not yet.
But Jeremy knew that Nicole was the one to go there. Like, you know, he was the one that was like, you're the only one she won't hurt. Probably because she's the only one that's going to be like, let's
Right.
big group hug. You got
Had the
this.
most
You're my wife.
ridiculous thought.
This is why we need a season 5, because like I'm like Dark Angel Waverly, Eve, like there's just so many open questions. I'm like, I'm not satisfied.
Another
Yeah,
question
I'll
I
be
have.
really happy to see some sexy times, and I'll be happy to see them married, but there'll be a lot of open questions.
Yeah, see, I don't think
Another
there's
question.
any control. Go ahead, Jess.
No?
I was gonna say I have 2 other questions. One is you know, when her nose bleeds after she saves Doc, do you think there's going to be any repercussions of her using that her power to save him? Because when Julian saved Nicole, he said that there would be a price to pay. And then that also leads me to, why was his ring so important? Why did he have to give it over to Waverly? And so, like, will there be some kind of bigger repercussion for her saving that life?
That's
Is that ring still in the garden, or did it come back?
The ring
With
is still in
them.
the garden, unless it shoot itself out when the garden door opened and we didn't see.
It's with Eve.
Right, because Waverly threw it away again, right?
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
right
No,
as they
Wynonna
went
did.
in.
Oh, I know what?
No, Waverly did.
No, Waverly did.
I think they both, because like Wynona's like, what about this? And she's like, get that thing away, and like I think throws it from Wynona's hand.
Yeah, like right before
Waverly
right before they jump through the whatever portal to who knows where they went.
Mhm. But
Not
like,
purgatory.
because I need to find because like Waverly makes the comment right before she saves him that like he does have regret in his heart for his many sins, but he defied the lifetime he was given many times. And so it's like, is this repercussion a life taking one that we might see?
I think Doc's like fully mortal again, and also
Yeah,
has
I don't know.
TB.
I
Thoughts?
agree. Wait, has TB?
Yeah, that's what he died of.
Oh, that
Still?
maybe not. I agree with the mortal part, because he did say like a fresh start. It seemed like, you know, the slate has been wiped clean. So he has good health, you know, mortality, and now whatever he chooses to do from here on out is up to him. But
Well, even if he has TB, we
TB.
have treatment for that these days. So
I didn't say he was
we have
gonna die. I
something
just said I think he
antibiotics,
has
he'll
it.
be fine.
I was with you until the TB.
I support your left field ideas. I support it.
He could have TB, but then, as I said, we have antibiotics. He'll be fine.
So
But-
would it be possible, picking up on some of Jess's questions and some points, it seems like from the start of the episode when Wynonna, didn't want Waverly to walk away, says, I don't want to watch this or see this. She took it literally and took away her sight. Like, okay, it's what you want, that's what you get. And then as the episode went on in other encounters, she kept doing things for people, saving Doc, giving the power to Nicole so that they could be together. So that if we, see that story move forward, and the next time Dark Waverly is triggered, because I don't think Waverly has control over when she comes, is there a better chance that now she would be more helpful? In other words, this was her chance to stick only to the rules and do what they're supposed to do. And now she's learned, hey, I can kind of mess with it. I can break the rules. So now is she more of an asset potentially to the team if needed the next time she has to come out?
Like a Hulk situation?
I could go with that.
Like a Hulk situation?
I just, and again, we don't know, and I doubt we'll get a lot of that the last episode of this season. But I think, it does give us so much on the possibility side of what it is.
Yeah.
And they did start exploring. I mean, with Freddie and with taking out some of the black badge humans, they started exploring the idea of what does it mean to be a demon, what does it mean to be dark, what does it mean to be light. Are we really, are those boundaries really so separate? So is Dark Waverly really dark? Just like, Freddie is a werewolf and therefore bad, but he's also a florist. And Jeremy, like the most innocent person on the show, like, hey, Freddie, go kill that human.
Yep.
And we were like, yay. And then I was like, but why are we cheating?
No, I'm very wary of Jeremy.
Right? So there was a lot
wary.
of blurring of lines of what is good and what is bad. What is light?
I totally agree leaving Jeremy out of the scenario because he is like skeeving me out a little bit this season. But I definitely agree with like the BBD versus demons versus sort of which side of the battle you learn to fight on and which side you end up siding with.
I mean, Mercedes killed like how many people in her first like 5 seconds as a vampire?
And then walked out into the sunshine like she could.
Well, Doc has been in the sun. We've already known the Wynonna Earp vampire.
Purgatory rules for vampires.
Vampires are not afraid of the
Sexy
sun.
pink fog. Sexy pink fog.
They exist in the sunshine.
Not this season.
Not this season.
Kevin, I really need to know more about your thoughts on Waverly's lack of control. I haven't been able to not think about it.
Well,
You don't think she has any control?
No, I don't. My gut feel is no. That it was all of that experience with Jolene is what triggered it. It took a lot to get to there.
Yeah.
And we saw when she was turned, like you said, she killed Jolene and seemed to enjoy the heck out of it. And then the beginning of this telling Wynonna, I got stuff to do and I'm going to blind you so you can't even try to follow me. So I'm still very concerned there's not any control. I mean, what the heck? She grabbed a pack of smokes and started smoking, just looking at the humans killing each other.
It felt weird. It felt weird to watch that.
I mean, if that wasn't a conscious choice to show you this is not our girl anymore, it certainly seemed it to me.
I don't know, because that looked like Waverly trying to be like, I don't like cigarettes. Like that was not a natural smoker with that cigarette. That was okay.
I just
We're doing this now.
Yeah, but that was, as somebody who's never attracted to natural smokers, that was hot as hell. Like I was still like,
I know I've seen so many people comment on that.
I'm like, girl, that's healthy, but can we get a room night or something? I have no problem with. I agree with Kevin. That was totally this is not our Waverly.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's that way of pointing it. Meaning to me, pointing it that she's not in control of this dark, at least not yet. Maybe by the end with what she did with Nicole, maybe that's the sign that it's there, because that was an awful quick switch, wasn't it? Once she did the zap power and Nicole went, rolling off, poof, she was no longer dark. The angel was gone completely.
Yeah, all of it. And she was back in the same dress she was in.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I say it seems more like it's triggered on and off rather than her calling it or letting it go away.
I mean, she gets a whole new outfit, so.
Quick hair and makeup.
Yeah.
Right. Just a little.
I'm super fascinated also just knowing the logistics of how they film these, and they must have filmed 11 and 12 together. So they just filmed, like the episode we just saw, they filmed at the same time at the episode that we're about to see. And just the in terms of the actors going back and forth in these emotional, like massively emotional swings that they have to go through to film these things at the same time. It's just impressive when you really like. And the directors also.
Yeah, Yeah, it is. It makes you appreciate more what they go through to be able to have to turn it off and on and everything else. Yeah, and even it came out in one of the recent behind the scenes with Kat talking about how the first things they filmed were 3 and 4, where Nicole was kind of in her total PSD, everything else going on there, and she had to jump right into that with Mel directing her and try to get it right. They hadn't even filmed 1 and 2 yet, so there wasn't even a build up. She just had to be there, and then so yeah, from an actor's point of view, man, you really appreciate it when you see some of this behind the scenes.
I would love to see more Dark Waverly. She terrifies me, but I'm so intrigued by her. I would love to see more of.
Is intrigued what we're calling it now?
That's what the kids call it these days.
That's what the kids call it these days.
Intrigued by her.
It's
Yeah.
funny.
A quick show of hands.
Curiosity is intrigue.
Quick show of hands. How many of you watched the entire series of Angel?
I hated Angel.
I have
Okay.
not as much as I have Buffy.
Angel.
All right, never mind then. It was a character comparison, but
Oh,
Nope,
sad.
won't work.
I have seen zero Angel.
Oh, I didn't even mean the series. I just meant the character. I hated it. I loved the character.
We
And I
can do
didn't
a
even
whole
watch the series. I
we can do a
realized that
whole
what I-
separate thing on that.
I can't with Angel.
okay, but real quick for those who are watching who are, I got Dark Waverly. I got some vibes of Amy Acker and her other
Oh.
character, Jess. You know
Mm.
who I mean?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Ooh,
what
now
it's
I'm
worth.
gonna have to like, go back and watch that side.
It's funny though. Joe wants more Dark Waverly. I want more soft Wynonna. Dude, it's just again, it's the switch of the normal personality.
Do we think Nedley was the previous Shield? Who couldn't leave the triangle? No, this is coming back to you want to hang out with Dark Waverly, you want to hang out, I don't know where everybody is on the screen. But people want to hang out with these characters. How long has Nedley been in the triangle? And how long has it been since he's been able to go? So within that, so Nicole's going to be there forever for the rest of her life anyway. Is it the rest of her life, or is she going to live forever for the rest of her life? Is Waverly mortal now, is what I want to know. Or is Waverly still Angel whatever thing she is?
Mama Earp could lead the triangle, right? So she wouldn't have been the Shield before with Julian, right? No.
But no, I think the Shield is the sheriff,
Right.
because it really there's no point in having
No,
cops in
listen,
purgatory.
to your point, I indicated that was out of left field, and it still was, because for me it was. But they did make a point that the very end, Nedley was with Rachel and Billy, and he was taking them for burgers in the big city, and they were all like, could they go to the big city? And they're like, they can now. There was this idea that maybe Billy couldn't leave the triangle, or maybe it was that Nedley couldn't leave the triangle before, and maybe the big city was out of the there are some hints that Nedley maybe has been around a little longer than we.
Weren't revenants in this big city in
Yeah,
episode 2?
I think that was in reference to the fog having crept in and BBD's like patrolling around Purgatory specifically.
Toronto is in the triangle. It's established.
Is
Big
it
city. They do go
is
to the big
anything
city
established
in
in this series?
We have seen naked Nedley. Does anybody remember a tattoo?
What?
Tattoo?
But because the symbol.
Since you watch that naked Nedley scene, Kylie,
I'm just saying.
Well, now I'm gonna go back and watch it again.
For science.
For science, we should check.
And for freedom.
If he has
For
the
freedom.
symbol. If he is.
Really?
Too far? Too far?
Oh,
No,
and I
does he
wanna
really?
go
Like
back?
where? I'll have to
No,
go
I'm
back.
just saying, does he? Like, we should go back and figure this out. Because
No,
if he is the Shield,
Oh,
would
Kylie
he
hasn't
not?
looked.
No, I haven't looked. I should though. Here, I'll pull it up right now. No,
Here, I was thinking you were saying naked Nedley has a tattoo, and I'm like, How many times did you watch that naked?
No. I'm saying we should watch it to find out for science.
For science.
I kind of got the idea that the concept of the shield in the way that Nicole became the shield was sort of a new thing, because just their whole interactions, where Waverly or Dark Waverly was kind of like, oh, this is something that could work. It's like it seemed like it maybe that the idea of having a shield was something that was around, but it hadn't really been implemented before. So that's kind of how I took it. Not necessarily thinking that whoever the sheriff was previously would have been the shield. It was just kind of like, oh, wait, this is something that we can do. I hadn't really thought about that, or I hadn't really given that much thought. So let's try it now. And I also can't think of anyone else being willing to sacrifice literally their life just to protect Purgatory, for the rest of their days, the way that Nicole did, because it's like there's been this huge emphasis on, the love between Nicole and Waverly, and it's a love as strong as that, which would make all of this possible. So I can't imagine that it's like, oh yeah, anybody else in the past would have, felt okay with sacrificing themselves and sacrificing their life to do this. So I kind of saw it as the shield, the angel shield, being something a little bit either new or like not very common. It's not something that happens too often.
Oh, for sure. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not happened very often. There has been one other sheriff since Ward Earp died, right? He was sheriff before, right?
Yeah.
So where my brain is going with all of that is, and shield is like a symbol for law enforcement, or a thing for law enforcement as well, like a symbolism. And they call their badges shields. Like, it's all in my mind just kind of linked together for whatever reason. And Nedley didn't react really with what Billy was saying until Billy said that Wynonna was in danger. Like, he reacted to Rachel, but then he was still like doing his thing kind of on the bar, and he's like, you have to save Wynonna. And then he's like, actually paid attention. So I agree with you. It could, like, probably a really rare thing. And who did Nedley pick out to be his successor? It's Nicole. Who did he save from whatever fire was happening? It was Nicole. And Michelle was involved in a fire and all this other, like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure the Gibsons and the Nedleys got something going on with that fire shenanigans.
We haven't had a fire witch.
Or that's another one. Well, yeah, no. I guess in my mind the Iron Witch was kind of a little fiery with all of her.
Wasn't Maeve
Yeah, what
a
was
fire
Maeve?
witch?
Yeah, Maeve was actually, yeah.
Maybe she was.
Yeah.
I forgot Maeve. So now we got 5 witches roaming
A
around.
water witch? Have we had a water witch?
Swamp?
Well, that'll get Alyssa going with the ice and water and all that side of the elements.
We're gonna have to have a wind witch.
Oh my god. Telling you. Who knows what's going to show up at the wedding?
The Alberta witch, it's just ice and wind all together.
Anything else we didn't bring up we wanted to? Oops, I know. Typical, lots of directions.
The only other thing that I have is so Angel Waverly tells Wynonna that Jolene was her other half. And when Jolene's hair caught on fire, Cleo said it's because the Reaper's target was dead. Do you think, because we know that, because those two can't live, like, if one gets hurt, the other gets hurt, that kind of thing, do you think there will be repercussions of that? Or do you think because Waverly, like, fully accept her angel powers, that, like, the Jolene side of things is just over with?
is Jolene like Waverly in that she is a person and also a supernatural thing all at once? Did Jolene actually die because their bodies are so fragile and that spirit is still
like
there?
her hair caught on fire, and so that would have the Reaper wouldn't keep going after her because she's dead, and so that's why Billy the Reaper turned on Wynonna. And so in my
Could also
mind,
mean that the Jolene vessel might be dead, but again, if it's essence thing, it's just going to move to another body.
Oh my
There's so much to wrap up.
right?
Or was that who Waverly was like at that point? That's where my brain's at is
Yeah, like
Jolene
is,
wasn't Jolene anymore. That was literally half of Waverly in that other body trying to get back to itself this whole time.
Yeah, and because she fully accepted this angel side of her, did that kind of fill out and negate the Jolene aspect, and so it's now all Waverly.
Got Jolene's leopard prints and see if Waverly ever puts those on.
I will, taking like a complete left turn, I will say I love the last scene where Waverly and Wynonna seem to get back onto the same page.
Yeah.
Their looks between the two, oh my god.
And that
Yeah,
One
happiness.
of those things where like there can be no dialogue and you can see there's so much dialogue in just the way they look at each other, but without them ever having to say words.
Yeah.
Very
Like,
true.
they were back, after so many episodes of conflict and strife between the two of them. Like just 30 seconds of them kind of back on the same page. At least we think. They seem to be on the same page.
I don't know. I trust nothing.
For now.
Whereas I'm like, keep being happy forever.
It felt good. Like they
It did.
finally
It
kind of
felt nice.
these are the Earp sisters that I grew to love.
Mel's tweet about, oh, Dom, your smile is back. I thought was pretty funny. I was like, oh, yeah, she is. Smiling again.
I know, for the first time in many episodes.
All right, then. Well, that was quite the episode, quite the discussion. Hopefully you folks watching enjoyed it. We've got one more here in season 4. And as many folks are saying on Twitter, we are waiting for the other shoe to drop. So I guess we'll wait and see what does happen there. But we're all on board to see it and have fun with it one way or the other. So thank you very much for tuning in, folks. As you can tell, for all of us, great therapy sessions, opening up our minds, giving us other things to talk about. So we appreciate you all tuning in, and we hope you all take care. Catch you next week. Bye all.
Bye.
Bye.